4 teams remain, 4 went home. We're reacting to the divisional round of the NFL playoffs today on the Locked On NFL Scouting Podcast.
You are Locked On NFL Scouting with the Draft Dudes, your daily podcast for NFL and college football scouting. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's better than this? It's guys being dudes here on the Locked On NFL Scouting Podcast. We're the Draft Dudes. I'm Joe Marino from Locked On Bills. He's Kyle Krabs from Locked On Dolphins. And we are your NFL experts here with you daily to talk team building across the league on the Locked On NFL Scouting Podcast with the Draft Dudes, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. We'd like to issue a big thank you and shout out to our everydayers. Those of you who make us your first listen every day, we appreciate y'all being here very, very much. Today's episode is brought to you by LinkedIn. LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the qualified candidates that you want to talk to faster. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/LockedOnNFL. That's linkedin.com/LockedOnNFL to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply.
Joe, good morning to you. Happy Monday, and happy Monday to everybody except the Lions fan that Louis Riddick absolutely roasted over his own team. Did you see this last night?
No.
Okay. Let me take you down a little journey. Louis Riddick, January 17th, 2023. Approximately 371 days ago.
Yeah.
Lions going to the playoffs in 23 and going to be a real contender for the trophy when they do.
Who tweeted that?
Pretty good take from Louis Riddick.
Yeah, I'd agree.
Jason Gutierrez, this is the answer to the question of why you don't actually get to make any important decisions. In response to Louis Riddick saying that about the Lions.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody said that's a very weird comment, and his response was, I'm a lifelong Lions fan, Jason Gutierrez. We aren't contending for, quote, the trophy next season. This is a ridiculous thought. So, lifelong Lions fan did not like the love
Weird.
that Louis Riddick was giving to the Detroit Lions.
Yeah.
So, Louis Riddick, 15 hours ago, quote tweeted that comment of this is the answer to why you don't actually get to make important decisions, and said, hey, Mr. quote, lifelong Lions fan, you should have listened with a clown face emoji. And
Louis,
bravo, Louis.
He's
Riddick.
been waiting on it, huh?
That's my kind of petty, man.
Is it? Yeah.
That's my kind of petty. Guy as good as what he does as Louis Riddick is, sits on a tweet for over a year, comes back with the Lions, the NFC Championship game to dunk on a Lions fan for not appreciating love about his team. You can do no right in this space.
Yeah. Lions fans had a hard time believing it. I know a lot of Lions fans, right? And they're like, don't feed me positivity. You know what I mean? Like and I get it. It's been a tough stretch.
Yeah.
But take a deep breath, folks. You're in the NFC Championship game and you earned it. You absolutely earned it. Which we're going to get to the Lions.
We will
in a second here. But this divisional round started on Saturday, right?
It did.
With Texans, Ravens.
Worst game first.
Yeah, it was interesting for like 3 quarters, but you never really felt like Houston was a serious threat to win the game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Their lone touchdown came on punt return, which was cool.
It was cool.
But that's the script for this Baltimore team. Baltimore, they'll kind of feel you out in the first half, and then they will blow the doors off in the second half. They've been doing it to a lot of teams.
Yeah.
It was a 1-point game against San Francisco at halftime. It was an 8-point game against Miami before they threw a bozo interception before the 2-minute warning, and then scored a touchdown on 4th and 7 from 40 yards out to make that a 15-point game. Like, it was close at halftime.
Big deal that it was in Baltimore, right? How many pre-snap problems did Houston have in that game? And it wasn't even Tunsil this time. It was everybody.
Well,
it was everybody.
Let's be fair. He did have false.
Yeah. Oh, he's got to check his box. We don't play a Texans game without a false start from Tunsil. But it was like everybody this time, right? Like, what is going on?
11 penalties for 70 yards versus 3 for 15 from Baltimore.
And it's not like they were picking on Houston. We're talking about pre-snap stuff,
right?
So Ravens flock definitely showed up in that game, and Houston couldn't run the ball, right? Like, and they didn't stop trying, right? Like, it was like, okay, first and run every single friggin' time, and it was going absolutely nowhere.
And Houston,
they did it without Humphrey, right? So they're going to get Humphrey and Andrews back next week for the AFC Championship game, right? So that's a good spot to be. One team made dynamic plays in the fourth quarter, the other one couldn't, right? Like that's what it came down to.
Right. And Houston, their rush defense allowed 5.5 yards per rush. And some of that's Lamar Jackson, who rushes for 100 yards in the game. But when you give up that kind of space running the ball, and Baltimore can go 4 or 5 in the red zone as well, just every major box that you can check as far as like the parameters to typically win a football game. You outrushed them by almost 200 yards, right?
You can stop right there. We're good.
You won possession by 15 minutes. The only thing you didn't do was you didn't win the special teams element of the game, even though they did have some positive contributions in the return game themselves. And I don't know why anybody ever kicks to Baltimore. Nothing good ever happens from kicking to Baltimore.
Right. Duvernay's good. And they've always got somebody good, and Harbaugh's special teams background. But credit to Baltimore, right? They took care of their business. Now they get a chance to host the Kansas City Chiefs next week in Baltimore.
Yeah. And looking forward to see how Houston takes the next step, right? Obviously, it's just a tremendous season from CJ Stroud and gets into this environment. And Baltimore did what Baltimore's done to a lot of really good offenses all year long, which is they disrupt your timing and they force Stroud off his spot. It felt like every other play he's rolling out to his right, looking for something to get open and manifest down the field. And they didn't have it. And this is a great foundational year for Houston, and they should absolutely take a lot of pride with what they were able to do this season after I think it was 11 wins in the last 3 seasons combined before that. Just
there's no way Houston is hurting, right? I mean, I'm sure they love to win the game, but like, bro, how excited are you? You didn't nobody could have expected this.
Right.
Division champs winning a playoff game, you go lose the 1 seed on the road, like future's bright, folks. Future's bright.
So then we had for my money, it might have been the best game with Green Bay and San Francisco. This was the game I was most entertained with from watching from start to finish.
I don't know if I agree with that. Probably. I probably agree. Yeah.
I understand if you would pick Kansas City and Buffalo too for different reasons.
Yeah.
But I guess just the way that this game unfolds with Green Bay kind of really dominating the first half, but just a few critical errors that leave points out on the field and let San Francisco hang around. And then Green Bay comes out firing in the third quarter and scores 15 points. And then San Francisco getting the opportunities late in the game to try to bring it back. It just had a little bit of everything.
Yeah.
And Jordan Love, man, obviously made the big mistake at the end of the game, but totally unfazed by pressure.
Yeah.
How many dimes did this guy throw with a free runner coming right in his face with one of the best defenses in football? It was just really, really fun to see all those young guys for Green Bay all stepping up.
They did. But the guys on San Francisco stepped up more, right? I mean, McCaffrey with a couple big explosive runs, the big completion to Kittle.
They made the plays when you needed to.
Yeah, that's what it came down to. Both on offense and defense, right? Dre Greenlaw with a couple of second half interceptions there. And it definitely wasn't the cleanest game played by either team, including the team that won it. I know the rain certainly impacted things there. And I thought Green Bay had more defensively in this game than I ever thought they would have.
Yep.
But at the end of the day, like Kittle breaking free on that one long run, the 2 long run, the touchdown from McCaffrey, the long run from McCaffrey, Brock able to find a couple of completions there. It was an ugly game, but San Francisco just made the plays necessary to win it, and they're going to host the NFC Championship game.
Well, when you have 3 possessions to open the game, you're Green Bay, and you go 14 plays and get 3 points out of it. Then you go 10 plays, 68 yards, and turn it over on downs. And then your third possession, you go 10 plays, 64, and get 3 points out of it. San Francisco's first 3 possessions were 5 plays at a punt, a very impressive 12-play touchdown drive, and then a missed field goal. That was it for the half. Each team had 3 possessions in the first half.
Yep.
Green Bay moved the ball all over the place, but
they didn't have enough to show for
zone.
it. Yeah.
And that was it, right? Like, and that's you went into halftime and you're like, man, Green Bay should really be up like 2 touchdowns. And so that's why it felt like we talked about the script for the upset being you have to get San Francisco into a script where they have to throw the ball.
Mm-hmm.
And you kind of got into it, but you didn't really get into it because of those failure to finish drives in the first half of games. Where if you put 2 of those in the end zone, obviously you do the math. It's a 3-point game, and you get an extra 8 points. So like I get that element of it, but also for what San Francisco is able to do in the second half versus what they actually did, because you couldn't finish the drives. Took what felt like a script that Green Bay could get away with, and San Francisco hung around just close enough in the end.
Absolute horrible miss kick there by Carlson. So, if he makes that, the touchdown.
You see how bad his splits were in college too?
Yeah.
When the head coach tells the sideline reporter every time he goes out there, I just pray.
Yeah.
I probably reassess that situation moving forward.
Yep. Okay. Green Bay, you're going to be just fine. You got a dude at quarterback, and took this team further than Aaron Rodgers could, so you can always have that to celebrate. It's going to be good offseason for you guys. All right, we're talking the Sunday games here in just a moment, so stick with us. But, folks, when you're hiring for your small business, you want to have as many top-tier candidates as possible to interview. That's why you have to check out LinkedIn Jobs. LinkedIn Jobs has the tools to help you find the right professionals for your team faster and for free. LinkedIn isn't just another job board. LinkedIn has a vast network of more than 1 billion professionals, which makes it the best place to hire. And hiring is easy when you have that many quality candidates. So easy, in fact, that 86% of small businesses get a qualified candidate within 24 hours. LinkedIn knows that small businesses are wearing so many hats right now and might not have the time or resources to hire. Well, thankfully with LinkedIn, the process is intuitive, quick, and easy. And they even just launched a new feature that helps you write job descriptions. So post your job for free at LinkedIn.com/LockedOnNFL. That's LinkedIn.com/LockedOnNFL to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply.
Our Lions. Never wrong, just early, Joe. Our Lions.
Right.
Detroit, first game on Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
And they take another close to the vest, kind of heavyweight fight in the first half. Big time drive from Tampa Bay to go down and score a touchdown just before halftime to make it 10-10.
Huge. Dude, can we pause right there?
Yeah.
I was so curious to see how Todd Bowles was going to handle that, right? Start about the 12-yard line, like a minute 30, plenty of timeouts. I'm like, brother, if you don't try to get points here, you can go to the moon. And then they did exactly what you thought they do. They do a draw play on first down, right? They get the 12 yards they need. It's like, okay, baby, now we can actually try. We got 12 more yards than we thought. We can actually try to score points. And then he hits Mike Evans on the bomb, right? And it's like, okay, could you imagine if they just got 1 yard on that first down and they just didn't even have that drive? So, like, it worked out, but you're just, the whole time I'm like, Todd, and I even thought, like, late in the game, I bet it was like 5:30 left. They're down 2 scores. I'm like, if Todd punts this ball, send him to the moon. And then he didn't, and they wind up converting, right? So credit to Todd Bowles in overcoming some things that I was nervous that he would. Continue, sorry.
Sem plays 92 yards in 1 minute and 13 seconds to close the first half. And that included the draw, and then we got the 3rd and 1, and we're down at 41 seconds at Tampa's 28 on their own 28-yard line. Baker runs for the first down. Then we're off and running, and that a couple of dimes,
to
Mike Evans on that play, too, on that possession too. But Detroit comes back and felt like after the first possession of the second half, Detroit found the rhythm, and they were unstoppable from that point onward, where they go 10-64 touchdown, 5-75 touchdown, 10-89 touchdown, and that 89-yard drive was the big time drive.
Yeah,
you're up a touchdown. You're inside your own territory. Be very easy to go in your shell. They stayed balanced. They got the ball into the hands of their best players, be it Laporta, be it St. Brown on the 3rd and 15 conversion on that possession for 16 yards. Feels like every time you're in 3rd and plus for Detroit, they find a way to throw it to St. Brown right at the sticks, and he makes a guy miss for an extra 2 yards with a first down. It's incredible.
Yeah, he's a competitive dude. Early in the game, the second drive for Detroit to get the field goal, Jamel Dean dropping that interceptions, that was a tough pill, right? If you're Tampa, and I know that, like, it's not why they lost the game, but what a big momentum swing that could have potentially been. They were moving the ball, you took it off, and then they wound up going right down the field the next drive. Detroit didn't scoring a touchdown, but it was like, and that was a softie that was right in your hands, brother. That was one you gotta make that play.
There were a couple instances of that. There's an instance of that in the Green Bay game too. Darnell Savage had gift wrap pick six right in his hands.
Oh, no doubt. Yeah.
I think the most surprising upset of the weekend was that Buffalo didn't make Kansas City pay for the 2 turnover potential plays late in that game, where it was right there. Because Allen had the throw where I think it was McDuffie tipped it, and Snead would have had a walk-in touchdown if McDuffie didn't tip it. And then later in the same possession, they fumbled, and Kansas City tried to scoop and score and didn't get it.
Right.
So a couple potential turnover plays in at least 2 of these games really loomed large as far as missed opportunities for games that were 1-score games. We had our blowout game early and 3 1-score games down the stretch. But that's a great point on your part as far as Tampa Bay and not capitalizing on a potential mistake. And credit to Jared Goff. They played the first half really close to this. I love Ben Solak, but Ben Solak's tweeting out updates for Jared Goff's like 4 yards per attempt, and the stadium's chanting his name, and they did it like 4 times in the first half. And Goff turned it on and flipped the switch. And some of that is because there was an injury at corner for Tampa as well. So they really picked on McCollum and took advantage of that. Mm-hmm. But that touchdown pass, there wasn't no luck about that touchdown pass either. That was an absolute dime.
And their red zone possessions got a little bit goofy. They had, was it Reynolds across the back line early in the game? Mm-hmm. And then it's like, I felt like they tried to find that like several more times. And Tampa was ready for it. It's like, all right, let's do something different. Let's
do something else.
Yeah. Okay, so Tampa, you probably roll with Baker. Hope you keep Canales, right?
What's your financial offer for Baker Mayfield? I know that's a very large.
What Daniel Jones got 40? Daniel Jones got 40?
Daniel Jones got 40, yeah.
A little more than that.
Do you think he realistically gets that?
Yeah, I do.
Like, he played this year for $4 million.
Yeah.
You think there's not a middle ground? Or is just everything going to be compared to the Daniel Jones?
I think Daniel Jones is the middle ground. The best quarterbacks are getting 55.
We got Stafford and Kirk out here getting 35. But just because Daniel signed his and he's bad?
I don't know, man.
I think that. What's a more harmful contract for the quarterback landscape? Deshaun Watson, 100% fully guaranteed contract, or Daniel Jones for the caliber of player getting $40 million? Because if Daniel Jones gets 28, all these middle tier, second tier quarterback conversations go so differently.
Yeah, I don't envy this.
Good luck figuring it out.
Yeah,
right?
I don't. I'm sitting here like, brother, I don't know what to say. I don't. It's not. It's a tough world to live in.
It is.
Speaking of tough worlds to live in, how about getting bounced by the Kansas City Chiefs 3 of the last 4 years? If you're the Buffalo Bills, you finally get a chance to bring them to Highmark Stadium. Had some great opportunities to win the game. You led. How many lead changes were there? It felt like a lot of them. But Kansas City is able to win the game. I thought the difference in that game was the explosive plays, and Kansas City kept on hitting explosives down the field. And the Bills, I think offensively, they had the right game plan against a good Chiefs defense to run the ball, really work the underneath stuff and set up your shot plays down the field. And Josh Allen threw 3 great shot plays down the field. Twice Trent Sherfield couldn't finish. Once Stephon Diggs couldn't finish. And I think you had a Bills team that had to like meticulously move the ball and methodically do it. And they did. And then you had the Chiefs that like just kept on getting explosives, really taking advantage of some injuries that the Bills had in the back seven. And Mahomes, once again, it's death taxes and Patrick Mahomes playing in the AFC Championship game.
It's unreal, man. The other difference in this game, you mentioned Buffalo's formula to win the game. We're in 78 plays off.
Yeah, they did the stuff. They did it.
They hammered them. But yeah. I think the injuries for Buffalo, and I know nobody wants to hear injuries as an excuse, but they were already thin coming into the game. They experienced more injuries on the second level of their defense. It's just hard to survive that.
Yeah.
And that's the case in point, the explosive. Kansas City averaged 3 more yards per play than Buffalo did, in spite of Buffalo winning time of possession by 14 minutes. Red zone's a difference maker as well. In this game, you think about Buffalo, was it their first possession they got held in the red zone and had to kick a field goal?
Mm-hmm.
And then obviously the last possession, they didn't quite get into the red zone, but they got into just that yellow zone.
Close.
Whatever. It's I think they got to the 26.
Yeah.
Right. So it's kind of stuff that when you're playing Tom Brady or Patrick Mahomes in the playoffs, you say every time you end into possession and it has to end with, well, we got down in scoring area and we didn't get 7 points. You're just waiting for it to come back. And that was the case for Buffalo. Obviously, unfortunate missed kick. And the football gods can be extremely cruel, is what I would say, for a wide right missed kick for Buffalo, with the opportunity that they had with what we felt is a wide open AFC. And sure enough, there's Patrick Mahomes again in the conference championship game at the end of the season.
Hey, if you're the Chiefs, I mean, you got to feel like you watch the Chiefs. Like explosive plays, Patrick Mahomes figuring it out, MVS making the catches, Kelsey, making plays. AJ Klein's not going to be recovering Travis Kelsey next week.
Be a little different next week.
Might be a little bit different, but nobody cares about your problems. The Bills and the Chiefs did a great job of taking advantage of the Bills' problems. They run 13 personnel all day long. The Bills only dressed 4 linebackers. One of them's Tyler Medikevich, who's a special teams only player. And so they did a fantastic job of stressing an area of the Bills that, they really couldn't overcome. And so the Chiefs are back in the AFC Championship game. They're facing the Ravens. For the Bills, you still have Josh Allen. You've got some things to figure out with your salary cap. Got an opportunity to get younger and cheaper, I think, in some areas this offseason. And go back out there and see if you can go further next time, right? That's what you do in the NFL.
Right.
All right, the Chiefs are in the conference championship. The Ravens, we're going to talk about those games here in just a second, so stick with us. But, folks, the NFL playoffs, they are fully here, as you know, but there's still plenty of time to get in on the action over at FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook, because right now new customers can get $150 in bonus bets guaranteed when you simply place a $5 bet. That's $150 in bonus bets, win or lose. I love the app. It's easy to use. So many different ways that you can bet, like a live same-game parlay. You can find bets in the new Explore tab. They have a parlay hub. You can bet on the spreads, over-unders, player props, and more. So visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and make your first bet a layup. FanDuel, official partner of the NFL.
So we know who the Final Four are. The San Francisco 49ers will host the Detroit Lions, and the Baltimore Ravens will host the Kansas City Chiefs. So the 2-1 seeds indeed win their divisional games. They get home games in the conference championship. Which matchup intrigues you more?
They're both awesome. I guess let's start with the AFC because we just finished with Kansas City, but like, can the Chiefs continue that level of offensive production with the explosive plays against Baltimore? And that's a team that has linebackers. They have corners. If they get Humphrey back next week, and they can't stop the run. That's why the Bills played the game that they did, is because you knew that run defense was a problem. And I don't know, Derek Notty's got a triceps deal. I don't know if he's going to be back next week. And so I think the multifaceted ability of Baltimore with that defense, I think it's going to be a big task for the Chiefs. But we'll let the week play out. We'll think more about it. But right now I'm feeling like Kansas City's got a whole lot more to figure out in their script to win the game than Baltimore.
Yeah, I think for as impressive as the Patrick Mahomes cape wearing has been at times this season, he's going to need his best performance yet, and not particularly close, because Baltimore, I think they do provide you with the conflict of, we have size up front, right? It's where Buffalo had their success, was they really challenged you physically and came downhill at you, and you had this physical element with the running game. And Baltimore, they have some of the same elements. I think it's a little different because there's the speed element at quarterback as compared to kind of the size and physicality of the runners with Gus Edwards. but they got big dudes up front. Just like Buffalo's got some big dudes up front between Dawkins and Torrance and Spencer. Like they got big guys. Baltimore's got big guys too. And I think they're going to be able to attack you downhill and really test Kansas City's linebackers. And Trent McDuffie's going to have a huge game if they're going to run Lamar Jackson in the quarterback run game from design a little bit more, which you saw Buffalo have the success that they had down the stretch in the regular season and in the postseason, just having that extra element when you're really playing for keeps. Don't envy Kansas City just because I do think from a personnel standpoint, if you look at the entirety of the teams, Baltimore's, in my mind, has a big leg up. But the other side's got Pat Mahomes. So we'll see what it does.
Adjustments are going to be fascinating. I think there's a stat on Kansas City's defense where they've only allowed like an average of 7 points per game in the second half this season. And you just got done kind of working through Baltimore and talking about, well, things will be a little bit tight. And then they just kind of blow the doors off in the second half. So like two great second half adjusting teams.
Yeah.
I mean, if I were you folks, I'd clear your calendar on Sunday afternoon and just sit down and watch it.
I'm thinking about going.
The ticket ain't going to be cheap, but it is pretty close. Right?
That's the biggest determinant is the ticket.
Head on over to Game Time, Kyle Krabs. I think we can get you a ticket.
I think get-in price was $450.
GoFundMe, Kyle Krabs.
Venmo, PayPal.
Right. Grinding the tape. All right, so that's the AFC Championship game.
Yeah.
The NFC Championship game, Niners, Lions. And what this comes down to, Kyle Krabs, and I know that the Buccaneers had a little bit of success running the ball, but nobody runs the ball in the Lions. Can they make this a drop back passing game? And then also, can Detroit go into San Francisco? How can they travel, right? That's going to be a big deal for them.
So I'm watching Tampa. And obviously Evans and Godwin. You have the tight end in Otten who's making some nice plays against this Detroit defense. And I think the way that they won, I think San Francisco can have some success with the biggest interruption for San Francisco. And you felt it early in the game was when Deebo Samuel goes down with a shoulder injury. And we know how these Shanahan offenses are. We're going to spend all week game planning. And if we lose one of those key cogs of the game plan, it really interrupts our mojo and we feel it. And it happens with McVay. It happens with McDaniel. It happens with Shanahan in this game where they were kind of clunky offensively without
Saw it happen
Deebo.
with Slowick and
Slowick.
Yeah.
Yep. So do you game plan with Deebo? Do you game plan without Deebo? And if you get him, it's great. And then he just kind of has like a mitigated impact. But I think Ayuk has to get more than what he got against Green Bay. And I think with Detroit's corners, as long as you're throwing with anticipation, I think they can do it. So I do think San Francisco has the same size and physicality element of their receiving group to be able to challenge Detroit in the same way that Tampa was able to have some success once that game kind of opened up a little bit.
Which road team do you think's got a better shot?
Detroit.
Kind of feel the same way.
I feel ashamed to say that about Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah, I feel stupid saying it. I feel stupid saying it.
Make us hear our words, but if I look at the entirety of the team, and maybe sometimes playoffs just really boils down to who's your coach, who's your quarterback. Not a lot else 80% of the time is a good batter, right?
Yeah, but like when you say that this year, like who's your coach, who's your quarterback? I don't know. Like the AFC, Harbaugh and Jackson, Reed and Mahomes. That's good on good, right? Like
right. It's not a stark discrepancy.
I mean, certainly there's been more success.
If Reed and Mahomes are in 6 consecutive AFC championship games, you'd probably be foolish to bet against them, at least through a certain stage. Is this that stage? Are all bets off because we're in the Final Four? Or do you still look back and say, well, it's Reed Mahomes. You got to pick Reed Mahomes. Like, I don't know.
I just feel like, but I think Baltimore's going to have a whole lot more in that back seven defensively and a whole lot. I mean, even with the pass rush,
this feels like it has the potential to be what Tampa's defense was in the Super Bowl a few years ago.
Yeah,
for Kansas City.
100%, man. And I don't think Kansas City has as many pitches in their bag that they've had in years past, right? Like it's been a short passing game. Like if they're willing to stay committed to running the ball, they can be successful in the downfield stuff. I was there against Buffalo, but it really hasn't been all season long. Was the Bills game a one-off, or is this did the Chiefs figure it out? I think I'm inclined to think it's more of a one-off, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I don't think you're going to be able to have the success against the safeties of Baltimore like it felt like Kansas City did with some of their chunk plays against Buffalo last night.
I agree.
So give me Detroit. I think they can control the pace of play. I think they can run the ball on anybody. Their strength is stopping what San Francisco does best. I think there's more pathways there for Detroit.
Don't you feel like the pressure's on San Francisco too? Shanahan's over the hump, right? That conversation exists with Kyle Shanahan. He's been to big stages. It's never worked out for him. Like Detroit's coming in like just to me this loose football team that is very much together. They got a big time edge. They're going on the road like they have that chip on their shoulder. I think the pressure's on San Francisco. Yeah, and it's a good place for Detroit to be. The
question is, did San Francisco knock the rust off or not? Because they sat a bunch of guys week 18 and then had a bye. Yeah, so you really went 3 weeks without playing.
Yeah.
So I do agree, though, it's pressure versus experience. The San Francisco being in this situation, 4 conference championship games in 5 years, like must be nice. So I do think there is an element of been there, done that, because it's not the hump. It's a routine place for them to be. But I do agree, Detroit, house money team, right? And sometimes that's the most dangerous thing. That's what Green Bay played like.
Yeah.
House money, right? And then you just get to the end of the game, and then the lack of experience showed up when you had to have it. And then Jordan Love makes the cardinal sin of quarterback play despite having plenty of time on 1st and 10.
And they only needed a field goal.
Right. It's a bummer. But you live and you learn, right? So,
yep.
Should be a great Sunday of conference championships starting, 3 o'clock's the Baltimore Kansas City kick, and then 6:30 is...
See, this is... Now we have to look it up. 3 and 6:30, yeah, you're right.
Yeah. Can we sign a petition to get all primetime football games to start at 6:30?
Oh, Kyle Krabs.
How nice was that? That game was over before 10 o'clock, Joe Marino.
Brother, the second half kicked off at 8:20. I looked at my brother and I was like, dude, thank God this game isn't just starting right now. It's beautiful. It's beautiful.
Sign the petition.
Yes.
Everybody's off work. Let's move the formal work days to end by 3 o'clock anyway, so you can
go
straight from work to the tailgate for Monday Night Football next season. Like,
right.
Lots will be open. You just roll right in. Have your neighbor come over and let the dog out for you.
Phenomenal. 6:30 starts for these primetime games is phenomenal.
Yes. So, good Sunday coming, and a good Saturday and Sunday in the books. We have some great content coming your way the rest of this week, including the Raiders debrief.
We forget some team every year, don't we?
Yes. I forget which one it was last year.
I think it might have been the Raiders.
And then we need to start doing them first then.
Raiders will be, hopefully we don't have to do you again, Raiders, but if we do, you'll be first.
The Raiders season debrief tomorrow.
Yeah.
And then we will be getting into our pitches, team direction pitches this week as well, which is a really cool idea, which we look forward to bringing to you. So hit subscribe. You find us on YouTube or wherever you listen to your favorite podcast. Make it a great rest of your day. I'm Kyle Krabs. He's Joe Marino. We're out of here.